we're talking about the Sam Raimi Spider-Man. You know, like a movie. To me, it's like a movie that changed cinema, or and was a breath of fresh air when I saw it.
Same here, like 2002. Man, it's like over 20.
Yeah.
Like 21 years old.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
Jeez.
But watching it, it was like a fresh new movie, and it was like, where have you been all my life? Like, it was like when I saw it, I was like, wow, like I haven't seen a movie like this since Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. Like, the last time since there was just kind of this like fun action adventure kind of thing where like every beat of it works, the action satisfying. Like none of the Batman movies, hit the way that hit. The Marvel formula, like the Marvel superhero formula is like so great and so satisfying in the comics, but like you never saw it in a movie. And it's like, oh wow, it took until 2001 or whatever. Was it
2002?
2002 for like the Marvel formula to like actually make it to a movie.
And even after watching like the Marvel flicks for all these years, like going back and watching this, I'm like, it's still, the current Marvel crop still hasn't captured, like, it just feels completely different still, like a different, it's of a different,
well, because it also, like, it's a superhero movie, it's an action movie, it's got all this, but it's got like more of like the flavor and taste of the auteur, Sam Raimi than any of the other ones. Like even when Sam Raimi came back for Doctor Strange the Madness of the Multiverse, or
Multiverse of Madness.
Multiverse of Madness. Even when he came back from that has a lot of Sam Raimi isms, but it just as a whole doesn't feel like Sam Raimi's voice the way that the
Spider-Man movies
kind of like,
like even Spider-Man 2, and I like Spider-Man 3.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
Everything, like the casting, like shot on like, location.
Yeah, like
looks of like $1 million. Like
it used a lot of CGI, but it also used a lot of practical.
It did,
and just had a feel to it, and it like captured the comics and the flavor of the comics, but then even improved on it a little. Like it tightened up Spider-Man's origin in some subtle but really nice ways. Like, because like reading the comic and watching the cartoons and stuff as a kid, there's the scene where like the thief is running by and he lets him go, and then they're like, why didn't you do anything? He's like, that's not my problem. Like they tweak that a little bit where it's like the guy rips him off.
Yeah.
And then the robber robs the
rip-off artist.
The guy who ripped him off, kind of like, he zinged him by saying, hey, it's not my problem, throws his line back at him, but then it's like, like it kind of makes that moment work really well. Yeah.
And then Cliff Robertson is Uncle Ben.
Yeah, Cliff Robertson, who's like every superhero's dad, or every superhero's father figure.
I remember watching that De Palma documentary. He was in like a De Palma movie, and he had like a ferocious tan, and the cinematographer was yelling at him because he was trying to deliberately fuck up the lines for the lead. I can't remember her name, but the cinematographer was like, why do you look like that? He pointed to the wall. He's like, you look like this wall. Like, it's like insane tan. He's like, stop that.
Cliff Robertson in Spider-Man looked like Regis. Like, they should have had Regis.
That would have been amazing. Uncle Ben, he's like, Regis's death scene, he's like, Gilman. He's like...
And Aunt May, like, she was like visually perfect. Like, straight from the comics. And like, I remember like seeing an interview with her where like she was saying like, I wasn't familiar with any of this stuff, but whenever I tell somebody that like, oh, I'm going to play, Aunt May from Spider-Man, they'd be like, you're perfect for that. That's perfect. Like, and like she really, it's kind of funny to be like sort of walking around looking exactly like Spider-Man's Aunt May and being completely unaware of it until you're cast in the movie.
With the, I know Spider-Man has had like a long, hard road till its production.
Yes, yeah, and you see like, because we talked about
the script mint,
the script mint from James Cameron, and you do see elements from that show up in the whole thing of organic web shooters. That was in that was in the Cameron one.
Yes.
And again, like, I can take that or leave it. Like, I to me, it makes sense. Like, the thing of Peter Parker inventing this, like, super state-of-the-art way of shooting webs, yes, it strains credibility, but it's still kind of fun comic book stuff. So like, I get why you would leave it out, like, why it would kind of, like, maybe stop things cold for a little bit as you explain how he did this. But again, like, you know,
the movie's called Spider-Man, where he's walking on the wall. I'm like, yeah, you lost me.
Yeah, it did, like, it doesn't bother me in the least that they changed it, and it wouldn't have bothered me in the least if he kept the mechanical web shooting.
And we know that they were Roger Corman originally was trying to get it off the ground, and then I think Canon Pictures had Spider-Man, and then I know I think either Golan or Globus like had to sell the rights.
Yeah.
That's how it got to like Columbia, or like it got something was in Columbia, and then something was Carolco. That's
right.
Like, we love Carolco here on the Total Recall show, but like that's how it got into James Cameron's wheelhouse. And then Spider-Man, David Koepp, who once again wrote the Dial of Destiny, so he's back at it again.
In like all the superhero movies until Spider-Man, it was like, okay, they finally did it. They finally did the thing that I always enjoyed in Spider-Man or superhero comics that you would never see in like a superhero movie. Every single one, like Christopher Reeve as Superman, like they finally did a movie where the hero, the superhero, has a super villain that, you know, outclasses him in terms of like strength and stuff. Like, he fights the Green Goblin, and the Green Goblin can like rip him to shreds, and like he gets beaten up and destroyed, and then like finally at the end, you know, he kind of pulls it all together and like triumphs over this unbeatable enemy, and then like the triumph feels so earned, and it's so satisfying. And you just never saw that. Like, you kind of had that with the Phantom Zone superheroes, the Phantom Zone villains in Superman 2, but not really. Like, because they're just sort of, they have copies of Superman's abilities. Like, they're kind of, you know, but they're like, you didn't get that same sense. There was more sort of like, you know, hijinks and trickery and plot, where with this, it really was like the thing of like, I'm going to give it my all, and this one's for Aunt May, and this one's for Mary Jane, you know, like that kind of thing.
This one's for Uncle Ben. He used to spray tan on the Green Goblin.
And the connections.
He's like, this one's for Uncle Ben.
I'm using his bronzer on you.
He's like, the bronzer damages my circuitry.
The connections between the heroes and villains and stuff, like the interpersonal connections, was like another element that's like really great too. That's in like the Marvel stuff, but wasn't it where it's like Norman Osborn was like a mentor to him, was kind of, you know, it's like a personal betrayal. So it's like finally we got this rich Marvel thing into a movie, you know, finally. And yeah, I don't think it's been done better since.
No, like Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies are they're like, I think they stand like alone in and this has held up over the years. You're right. So there's some CGI that's looking like wonky, but like, and then we were talking about there is some like residue from Batman, like the Danny Elfman score.
Yeah.
And then the like they talk about the web shooters like taking you out of the picture. The thing that takes me out is the balloon parade. I'm like, when they are like Batman. So Batman. I'm like,
the Green Goblin as a choice of villain he's very Joker-ish.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's partly deliberate too, like in the creation of the Green Goblin. But he is very, very Joker-ish. And like the one thing though with the Joker is like the Joker, like you could do a Batman movie where the Joker is Batman's equal, where he's like, you know, where he's like some kind of like ninja or something, you know, where he's got some, you know, he's got some kind of fighting skills where they can go, but like, none of the Batman movies were that. Like even the Heath Ledger one, it's like when it comes down to it, like the fight in the Michael Keaton Batman with him and the Joker is so unsatisfying.
Yeah,
like, he's just like beating up a middle-aged Jack Nicholson. Like it's just like,
I always feel like whenever I watch that, I'm like, is Jack Nicholson really getting like
Yeah, Jack, are you okay?
Are you okay after this beatdown?
Like, I would have liked Michael Keaton's Batman to fight the Joker, to be like, kind of like, or and even if, like, the Joker's just doing every dirty trick in the book, so it's like, stabbing, sucker punch, stabbing and stuff, but instead, Batman's the one doing the sucker punch.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
the one who taps him on the shoulder.
Wouldn't hit a guy with the glasses.
Yeah. If the Joker just had, like, all kinds of, like, deadly gimmicks that he's using on him or something. But no,
I love to say that when I was little.
Yeah.
Well, like, I want that to work sometime. And, like, I'm like, you want to hit a guy with glasses with you guys like, oh my god, I am so sorry.
Does that reference still hold up? Because that was, like, something that it would be in, like, a Bugs Bunny cartoon. But I don't know if, like, if somebody who's, like, 20 today, have they ever seen a Bugs Bunny cartoon? Yeah.
We were doing...
Other than, like, Space Jam. The new Space Jam.
We do, like, Marx Brothers and, like, wouldn't hit a guy with glasses, would you? You're holding 2 glasses of water. That's always the thing.
Sam Raimi, it's like the Evil Dead guy, the Dark Man guy, and then it's like he's doing, like, big time, like, Spider-Man stuff, and putting some Dark Man elements into it, and it's like,
definitely.
Oh yeah, you take a little bit of Dark Man, and
but he kept, like, he was keeping it real too. Like, he had his, like, whole crew. He's got Bruce Campbell, Ted Raimi, Ivan, like, the cars in there. Like, he is basically, like, took his skill set and just, like, put it on a bigger stage.
Some of the most memorable scenes were, like, sort of the practical ones.
Oh, yeah.
Like, the whole wrestling scene, like, that's all practical. In the original origin to Spider-Man from, the 1960s, Spider-Man, it's all there. Like, that's such a great comic, Amazing Fantasy number 15 with the origin of Spider-Man. But it's got a wrestling scene in it. Like, that whole scene's in there with the wrestling. And the wrestler he's fighting, I think, is called Crusher Hogan. Like, his last name's Hogan.
Oh, shit.
So I wonder if they approached Hulk Hogan, because that would have been too perfect to have a wrestler Hogan in there. And maybe they couldn't figure it out for whatever reason, and then they went with the Ultimate Warrior. But how great would that have been if he gets in the ring and it's Hulk Hogan?
Yeah, they're like, Spider-Man 2 has the great, like, we were talking about, like, Sam Raimi's, like, his, like, iconic look and his vibe. With the scene where they're trying to remove the arms off of Dr. Octopus.
Right. Oh, yeah, that
in the hospital is, like, so,
there are sequences. Yeah, that's very Raimi. And there are sequences in these Spider-Man movies that feel kind of like mini movies within themselves, and that's one of them. That
hospital scene.
The hospital scene is this, like, little horror movie within a movie. There's a scene in the first Spider-Man that's like, sometimes I just put on this scene and just watch this scene because it's this very, like, self-contained, so much fun. But it's the fire, when there's, like, that fire.
Oh yeah,
he goes in to, like, rescue, and so, like, that whole scene is so great. And the clash with the and again, a lot of practicals. I mean, there's CGI in there, but a lot, like, for the little pumpkin bombs, those are CGI. But there's also a lot of practical of him just in this, like, flaming thing, and like the zooming around to the camera is very Raimi-esque. It's just like, but it's just such a great scene. And then, like, when he's fighting with the Goblin, it's a great fight, and then Goblin's throwing those blades, and then he's, like, jumping and stuff. It was really like, okay, I'm seeing something I've never seen before. Like, I'm seeing, like, a Spider-Man comic, like, really, like, being, translated into this other medium in just such a spectacular way. And so that whole little bit, like, I love that bit so much. And none of the other Spider-Man movies had anything like that, where you have this, like, little extended section of just perfectly capturing the whole superhero thing. Like, Spider-Man 2 didn't have anything like that. Like, Spider-Man 2 was, like, a very satisfying whole, and the whole story that they tell in Spider-Man 2 is very satisfying, but it never had, like Spider-Man 1 has all these little bits where it's like, ooh, I can't wait till that part comes up. I can't wait till, and, like, Spider-Man 2 doesn't really have that, Willem Dafoe is a thrice-baked ham. And it's so great. It's, like, so perfect. Like, it fits so perfectly, and he is such a ham, and, like, and I love it. He chews up the scenery, and it just, it works so good. And then Alfred Molina is, again, like, he's giving you a different note, and it's good and it works, but, like,
I mean, he is, flip him over because he's cooked, and he's literally biting the scenery. Like, you think that scene, remember the scene where he's, like, crawling around talking to like the mask.
Yeah.
And you think that would be like a Stella Adler like it'd be like a actors playhouse thing where he's got no shirt on and he's like crawling around. I'm like, hell yeah.
So good. And it was like Spider-Man 2, you know, you got the whole movie and it's like, oh yeah, this is pretty good and stuff. And then at the very end, Willem Dafoe shows up in the mirror. And it's like, oh yeah, this is what this movie's been missing is this guy. This guy. And then that like most recent live action Spider-Man with like the 3 Spider-Mans, forget what it was called. Spider-Man
I can't remember.
Far From Home or No Way Home. That Spider-Man, like when he shows up, it's like he's everybody's favorite in that one. You know, like it was so nice to see him back, to see Willem Dafoe back.
I was reading somewhere like the original like Sam Raimi. I don't know if it was Tobey Maguire was number 1, but like the other guy that they had pretty much like in mind for it was Wes Bentley.
Okay,
he was like, I think he's the guy from American Beauty that was videotaping the plastic bag in the tree.
Okay, yeah, he could have been a good.
He's on like some show now, like Yellowstone or something.
Yeah. There were a lot of people they were considering who were all like. I think Tobey Maguire, you know, worked out perfectly.
Yeah,
like, for a million reasons he worked out perfectly. And then like for Spider-Man 2, when Tobey Maguire got injured, they were talking about like replacing him with Jake Gyllenhaal.
I didn't hear that. No shit.
And Jake Gyllenhaal would have been good too.
Yeah, he would have been good.
He looks a lot like the drawings of Peter Parker from, you know, the Steve Ditko. He looks a lot like the Steve Ditko Peter Parker. And like, I don't know who the voice is of Peter B. Parker in Spider-Verse, but like the animation looks like Jake Gyllenhaal.
Definitely
looks
does.
Like they're making a Jake Gyllenhaal. I don't know. I don't think he's the voice.
But it's so weird. Like same with like Tobey Maguire is like, you know, secretly he's like he can go from sunken chest to like muscle mag kind of thing, and like same with Jake Gyllenhaal, he can do the sunken chest thing, or he can do like beefed out like versions, and but like Wes Bentley, when you see him, he's pretty Peter Parker-y looking, like his head and everything.
That character in American Beauty is kind of like a Peter Parker kind of thing. But like I feel like there's a lot of people who you could pull in and play Peter Parker. And Andrew Garfield was and
Tom Holland.
Tom Holland's great. You know, like Peter Parker, that's like there's a lot of people showing up in Hollywood, you know, falling off the turnip truck who you know, could fit that bill, you know.
Quantum from Central Casting.
Yeah.
In the first Spider-Man, when they're like, when he's run for the bus, they're like, stop the bus, and the bus driver's like, oh my god, it's a member of Leo Dio's Pussy Posse. Oh my god. They're like, whoa.
Yeah, DiCaprio, I think, like famously turned down the Peter Parker role.
Oh crap, I didn't know that. Yeah, figures. James Cameron was involved.
Right.
He's like that. He's like, I'm the king of the Spider-Verse or whatever.
J.K. Simmons, just another example of like, wow, they took the guy from the comic book and like put him in a movie, and it was like he just kept and again, like, why is everybody afraid of hamming it up? He's hamming it up. You know, it's a comic book movie. It's like your movie's not going to turn into shit if the guys are hamming it up. There's some roles in these stories where you don't want to ham, but like J. Jonah Jameson and the Green Goblin, you want somebody who's going to be like, you know,
like I don't
playing to the back row, playing to the nosebleeds.
Like when you're an actor, I always like when I'm watching like stars, they're like I equate them to their like signature riffs.
Yeah.
Like Harrison Ford does hand work.
Right.
He does his hand thing. Like when we talk about E.T., when I watch that deleted scene, and he's even doing his Harrison Ford like hand stuff.
I gotta see that.
But like Tobey Maguire, I was looking at his stuff, and he's like, he does eye act. He's like, he was like keeping like a blank expression a lot. Then he goes to like 100 whenever he's like, he goes, when his anger, like he's really doing like eye work and stuff, and he's like, his signature licks. He does a good job.
I'm Tom Scioli, author of Jack Kirby, The Epic Life of the King of Comics, and I Am Stan, a graphic biography of the legendary Stan Lee. And you can pre-order both of those books by clicking on the pre-order link in the show notes below.
I'm Matt Zeoli.
And please like, follow, and subscribe to the Total Recall Show. Follow me on Twitter at Tom Scioli and on Instagram at Tom_Scioli.
Follow the show on Instagram at Total_Recall_show.
And support my Patreon. Go to patreon.com, search Tom Scioli.
We'll see you in the
In the Spider-Verse. In the Raimi-Verse.
Verse.